be generous. It might not be everything I want it to be yet. If I truly think that I have something worth sharing, I need to share it. So that's something that's kind of pushed me over the edge. Alrighty, welcome to the epilogue of Me and the Quest, episode 2. This is the casual conversation, often over a beverage. Today I'm just drinking hot water because it's so cold out here. As I mentioned in on the main episode, I guess. But in case you missed that part, I'm out here in my shed on the coast of Maine. This is my office workspace, and normally love it out here, but turns out to record a podcast, I got to turn my little heater off, and it's 12 degrees outside today. So it's been cold, but yeah, I got to show up and do the work, and that's actually segueing into what I want to talk about today. One of my favorite authors, thinkers is Seth Godin. Gosh, I just love this guy so much. He's helped me so much. He's gives you inspiration, but not in like a Tony Robbins, like you're like not that kind of like jack you up, like get excited inspiration, but like, I don't know. He just really resonates with me. And so many of his ideas have really shaped who I am. His book Linchpin, which is actually back there on the bookshelf, one of my all-time favorite books. And he has a new book out called The Practice, which I have not actually read yet. And I will probably post a video about that when I read it, because I'm really looking forward to it. But this thing happens, right? Like if you're like me and you're obsessed with podcasts and YouTube channels, just constantly consuming information. So if you're like me, you can kind of tell when a author has a new book out, even if they don't ever say it, because they just start showing up on all these podcasts. And of course, with the YouTube algorithm, like I watched a video or two with Seth Godin, and now I'm just getting it flooded in my YouTube feed, and I'm not complaining because he's so good. So leading up to this is, I just finished recording, or still am recording, I guess, episode 2 of Me and the Quest. At the moment I'm recording this, I have not gone live with any of the other things I've made. I haven't even launched like the Instagram page for the podcast yet. We're getting really close though. I'm recording this about 3 weeks before it'll probably go live. And gosh, the last 48 hours have been brutal for me. This idea of resistance, which Seth talks about a lot, and it's actually an idea from Stephen Pressfield in his book, The War of Art, which is another kind of all-time great book for creatives. This idea of the resistance, this force that is at work, and whether how literally you take this idea, or if it's just a metaphor, it doesn't really matter. This idea of the resistance being a force that is working against you in whatever good work you're trying to do, whether that's literally like work to pay the bills, whether that's sort of a creative work, a get healthier goal, whatever it is. Resistance is going to be there every step of the way to try to slow you down, distract you, and prevent that from happening, right? And the last couple of days, resistance has just been beating me up, and I really almost kind of pivoted and didn't do this podcast. I almost just ate a lot of the work I've done to lay the groundwork for this thing. And the thing about resistance is it masquerades as other things, right? As sort of wisdom oftentimes. Like, well, hey, like, you're actually not that great at that. So like do this thing instead. And then I'll start to do that thing. And say, well, I'll actually do this thing at that. And it's like, it's perfectionism. It for me anyways, it masquerades as like, you can do this other thing better. Or if you just plan a little bit longer, then it'll be ready. And of course it never is, right? So luckily, something that's really helped me is just kind of timed out well. As I was really facing a lot of resistance and pushing myself to finally do this thing. Seth has been, on all these podcasts, sharing his wisdom. So I got 3 things I just want to touch on really quick. 3 little bits of advice that I've heard him give recently that have been helping me. And if you are seeing this video or hearing this podcast, this advice worked because I put it out in the world, even though I was at times scared to do it. Today I'm feeling good. Today I'm like, let's do this thing. But it's not always how I feel. So these 3 pieces of advice have helped. One is just the idea of his new book is called The Practice. Like I said, I haven't even read it yet, but I've heard him talk about it enough. Just this idea of putting in the work, showing up. If you want to do something as a hobby or just sort of for your own enjoyment, then you can just sort of follow, the whim of what you feel like, if you're in the mood or not, wait for inspiration to strike, all that stuff. But if you want to be a professional, if you want to really do it, and not professional in the sense of like make money, but like really do the work, you gotta do the work. You gotta sit down and put in the practice, make an agreement with yourself. And, like today, this is part of why I'm recording, even though it's so cold out here. I said, this is the day I'm going to record this episode. It's 12 degrees. Resistance says to me, record it another day. But today I won. Today I said, no, I said I'm going to record on this day. And I've entered into this agreement with myself. This is what I'm going to do. And so just that general concept, like I said, I haven't even read his new book, so it's a little weird for me to be talking about that particular one. And also like this idea for me, it's perfectionism. It's like, well, the podcast isn't quite I'm not quite as good a communicator as I'd like to be. The video isn't quite as great as I'd like. But of course the irony is like, I have to make a bunch of videos that aren't quite what I want them to be to get better. So that's what I'm trying to remind myself of. Second, on his interview on the Tim Ferriss podcast was just like, it was like a great golden nugget, like every 30 seconds. There's so much good stuff on there. So if you're interested in checking out Seth Godin, I'd recommend, he was on Tim Ferriss's show. I think the episode came out like in October, I want to say. I just listened to it this weekend, but so much good stuff there. But something that came up on that show is the idea that you might not be, and I'm talking to myself, but you might not be the best editor, the best decision maker about what is good enough to put out into the world. So Tim Ferriss was talking about, who's this very famous, very, very successful, very, very rich author and creative. And he's talking about, all these things that he has that he's worked on. And he thinks they have potential, but they're not good enough to share with the world. And Seth was just talking about like, you might not be the best person to decide that. And as I sat with that, I was thinking about how nitpicky I've been to myself about this show and about things I'm making, things that aren't quite perfect, things I'd like to be better at. And Seth's whole thing is like, it's not generous. It's selfish. Basically it's selfish to hold on to it. Like if you believe, and I do, that some of the things I'm saying can help people, then it's selfish to sit on that and to not share it with the world. Be generous. It might not be everything I want it to be yet. I might not be the communicator I want to be yet. The videos and the production and all that might not be what they want to be. I might be scared that I'm going to commit to this and then not have time to see it through. All these things. It's selfish of me to be worried about all that. If I truly think that I have something worth sharing, I need to share it. So that's something that's kind of pushed me over the edge. And finally, I heard him on another show talking about this idea of resistance again, which shows up a lot in his book, Linchpin, which is where I was first introduced to the idea of resistance. And then I read Stephen Pressfield's book. I keep gesturing because the book War of Art is actually right over there. But I'm too lazy to go get it and hold it up to the camera. Oh man, this is the part of the show where my brain dies. So this last idea is that resistance will tend to be strongest when the project is the most important, right? So in other words, there's sort of like this inverse relationship to if the resistance is really, really strong, there's a good chance that you really, really need to do the thing. And I've had that. I've known that, heard him talk about that years ago, and it's something I've thought of different times with different projects. And it's tricky because, again, the resistance says, no, it's not that I don't want you to do this. It's that, you just need to practice a little bit more, or, you should just fine tune this and this, or maybe just do this instead, or, wait until this is better in your personal life. Like you have more time for this or whatever. It masquerades as just good advice, but kind of being able to unmask resistance and say, no, like that's BS. I need to do this work. And I can tell that I can actually tell I need to do this work because of how much resistance how it feels like I'm pushing a boulder uphill to try to get myself to film this episode or whatever it is. Yeah. So those 3 ideas, number 1, just like framing my work as the practice. I need to sit down. I need to enter into the practice. I need to commit to, this is what I do every day. Every day I make stuff. Every day I work toward this goal. And it doesn't matter if I feel like it or not. That's the commitment I've made to myself. Second, I'm forgetting. What was point number 2? Oh my gosh. Second is I might not be my own best editor. I might not be the best decision maker about if my thing's ready or not. And so kind of zooming out and saying, you know what, I think this actually is good enough to help people. And it's selfish of me to then sit on it because I'm scared of what people are going to think. Like even if to use some round numbers, even if 50 people think I'm the dumbest, waste of time they've ever discovered on the internet, and 50 people get a lot out of it and it really helps them, that would be worth it. And so, yeah, trying to reframe that. That said, if you're one of those 50 people that think I'm a dumb waste of time, just keep that to yourself and please don't comment on this video. And then this final point that oftentimes when the resistance is strongest, those are the projects that you need to do the most. And so I keep telling myself that because there's been a ton of resistance lately for me about going forward with this idea. But like today, I've pushed through that resistance. It's been a great day. I've been excited since I woke up to film this. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I feel good about it. And so we'll keep moving forward. Thanks so much for being here. Like I said, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is just the casual conversation. The main episode will be showing up somewhere on the screen if you want to click on that and watch that. If you're listening to the podcast, thanks so much. Subscribe on podcast, subscribe on YouTube. All the stars, the thumbs up, the comments, the shares, all that stuff really helps. Make sure you follow me on @MeInTheQuest on Instagram. All right, we'll see you next Wednesday. Until then, good luck with the quest that you're on. Hope that you will put in the work this week, and we'll see you next Wednesday.